Dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.
Hi guys, we're getting a lot of questions at the moment asking where to buy silver or gold, and of course there are many places in which you could, and this is not an endorsement, but we tend to use bullionbypost.com. They've got a wide range of gold and silver, and if you put in the code that we've listed here below, you'll get a 1 ounce silver coin on any order over £250. Very nice. Just in case our channel ever gets taken down from YouTube, which there's a possibility because we are challenging a number of things. If you go to my website, drcharlieward.co.uk, and register there, we'll keep you in touch as to what's going on. And please, as Justin always says, remember to subscribe and like and share with friends so that we can get the message out there. It's very important through a difficult time to get the truth out in a world that is not very true. And just remember, Jesus loves you, even if everybody else thinks you're a twat. Yeah, great to speak to you again. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, really busy, but a little tired. But other than that, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Yeah, you've just summed up exactly how I am. You're my last one today, which is now 10 o'clock at night, and my next one tomorrow starts at 4 in the morning.
Oh my goodness.
There's no peace for the wicked.
That's right. You only have 6 hours between.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
Being a farmer's boy, you make hay when the sun shines.
Yeah, it's kind of like the schedule I had in the Navy.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of run by the appointments and things you got to get done rather than normal people's hours of when you sleep and are awake.
Yeah, that's so true. Just one quick thing. I've had a message from a lady in South Wales. And so I'll give you this piece of information so that you can have a look at it in the future, not necessarily now. You might know. She lives in an area of South Wales called Brecon Beacons. And there used to be a hospital there that was either known as the King Charles or the Prince Charles Hospital. I forget which one it was called. But there was a lot of stillborn babies there back in the 80s that were unaccounted for. And there was an investigation into it, but there was never anything ever said about it. And she said, knowing that I was going to speak to you today, she said, would you ask you just to, if you had any knowledge or observations, or whether you'd be able to decode anything from that?
Oh, yeah, I know about that. Brecon Bacon is a dump.
Yeah.
That hospital was one entrance. The stillborns is a drug that they give the woman that makes the baby. It's known to a lot of Shaolin as well, that studied the high levels of Shaolin from an herb that mimics the death, and you think the baby's dead, but in this, or the person's dead, they're not. So it's a way to get children down into the dumps.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible.
That's why they go missing, because it's a perfect way to get infants, straight into the dumps. You go right from the hospital, show the mother the stillborn baby. The baby's not actually dead. It's in a very it mimics death to the point you can't notice the difference. And if a person knows how to resuscitate that, and they actually had an episode, if you see the Kung Fu series, in which he did that guy that was being hunted by the Tong, that was supposed to be killed by the Tong, and he gave that drug to him, and the Tong thought he was dead.
Wow. That's incredible. Wow. That's just amazing intel.
Yeah, that's one of the, that's the only dome I know of in Wales that I've vetted.
Okay.
I know there's others, and in Scotland I know some, but I haven't vetted them. But I do know of several others in Ireland, 2 in Ireland, and a grunge of them in England.
Yeah, I've actually been down in 2 of them in Bath, one in Lansdowne and one the other side of Bath. And that was 30 years ago. And we've been discussing it today, and I was looking back at what happened 30 years ago, and because I was going down there with a view to putting closed circuit television cameras down there and security down there, I left disappointed because they only wanted cameras at the entrance and the exit, not inside of it. And there was a lot of areas where I was not allowed to go. But when I say it was huge, I mean it was 20 miles of tunnels, and big tunnels as well, and storage facilities. They told me that it was used in the First and Second World War for signals and ammunition. That's what I was told. That was the official line.
Yeah, those are go back to Roman days of the Roman occupation.
Really?
Yeah, it goes from Bath and it goes under Hadrian's wall that went all the way across, to stop the Picts from coming into the Roman held areas.
Wow. Yeah.
And those tunnels actually go all the way to France.
Do they?
Yeah.
Good job the asylum seekers don't know that.
Yeah, for sure, huh? But that's why they only have why they only have the cameras at the entrance, because they don't want to have a record of the comings and goings, because like the children coming from Brecon Wells, I mean, you don't want to record or have information about what a big part of the DUMBS is to have an area where they can do their sacrifices and things where it's not under attention and being recorded and what's being done.
Yeah. There's obviously, from what I understand, a number of DUMBS that are being blown up at the moment in the United Kingdom.
Correct. One under London and Liverpool, and I have people that have sent me, like we saw at Porter Ranch in California with the fires. Yeah. Also down in Brazil, you see that too now, the fires coming out of manhole covers. Yeah. And storm drains. And, I had a guy that attacked that, and said that was ludicrous, the DUMBS all over the world, and that those fires, that happens where sewage systems catch on fire. I know you, like you, Charlie, I've been all over the world. Yeah. For like 50 plus years. I've never seen fires coming in sewers. In some of the countries like Mexico, you can't even go over the storm drain without holding your breath, and it's still not catching fire. Yeah. Just since this last, 2 years, they started taking out the DUMBS, and where they have to come in there with flamethrowers for the kuru and that kind of thing, the contagious kuru that they developed, that you have to burn it out, and that's why we see the fires. Yeah. And obviously there was a big one removed in Beirut in the Lebanon. Yeah, they blew that building up, those big warehouses and stuff, because of the nuclear weapons in there. Yeah. And I have to look at, people don't get it as, they ask me, well, people died, innocent people died. Well, yeah. I mean, a few hundred or 100, I think it was 160, I don't remember the exact count at the end, died. But if you have 100 nuclear missiles and warheads for those nuclear missiles, and you hit 100 cities, how many millions of people die now? In a war, you have to go with the lesser of two evils. Sometimes it's unfortunate, but that is the way it works. And then when like they showed on the news, the lady was saying, oh, look, there's a tunnel and maybe some of these people got out. Yeah, a lot of the people got out, because those tunnels go from Lebanon all over the Middle East. Yeah, sure. And this is something that the normal person of this world has no concept of at all. And it was only when 30 years ago, when I saw it for the first time, I was completely blown away. But because I'd signed the Official Secrets Act, I was not allowed to talk about it for 10 years. That was 30 years ago. And it's only become relevant now, and you start to realize that the journey that I'm on,
There's a lot of things that have happened in my life that are now becoming beneficial to me getting the story out there and the message out there, because I've seen firsthand a number of things that I thought were insignificant at the time, and now they have an awful lot of significance.
Yes, same thing for me is, things I did in submarines and all at the time seemed just relevant to that time and that situation. But now, 30, 40 years, 50 years later, I look at the significance of things even when I was young and my father was working for Lockheed Martin. And
Yeah.
At first it was just Martin Marietta before they merged. But, go through the living room and see arcs and sparks flying across. And it just didn't seem significant to me. I'm just a kid, all these things that don't seem. And now I look at the big picture and it's just really obvious that all of this fits together in this grand puzzle that's now of the cabal that's now unraveling, and all the pieces are falling out in our lap as you start taking the border off. The pieces all start to come apart, and we're seeing it. And like it's like I'm being set in certain places to see little things, and all over and I've always had a very questioning and curious mind. So like in 90s when they deactivated the various groups of the alliance, because the cabal was going to nuke the world. So they deactivated all of the nuclear weapons all over the earth, including the submarines. And I was watching submarines pulling into Fort Island and Pearl Harbor, and they were offloading all the nuclear missiles. And my mind's like, why are they offloading all the ICBMs off all the SSBN submarines, the ballistic submarines? And two of them went on to they have to take a ferry to come off. And I was on the ferry, so I jumped in my car as quick as I could and followed this semi, big flatbed truck with two ICBMs, and it went up into the Alamano crater, which is military housing.
Yeah.
I drove up on the rim because I'm curious how he's going to get out of there, because that gets pretty small and sharp turn. You're not going to be able to get that thing out of there once he gets in. And I watched it drive straight into this, looked just like the old small DUMBs they had for during World War II in the side of the crater for ammunition storage and that. The semi drove straight into the solid. To me, it looked like solid rock. I'm like, what the heck? So a couple hours after he didn't come out, I drove down there and walked up and I put my hands on it. It feels pretty solid to me. That's really odd. I don't understand.
Wow.
So then I back up, and at about 9:30 at night, he comes out going coming out the other direction. I'm like, he turned around in there? That must be massive down in there somewhere. I mean, how does he turn around that huge? And now the ICBMs are gone. I'm like, this is really strange. It's like you get to see all of these little pieces fall together. It's pretty amazing now.
It certainly is. Well, we live down on the south coast of Spain. And of course, just down the road from us, we've got Gibraltar, which is a rock. And they've often said there's more roads inside the rock than outside.
Yeah, that there is very, very ancient. That goes back to the 16th century.
Wow.
And the Spanish, the Moros were coming across, so the Spanish had to try to repel that. So they literally chiseled at that and set up, and there's actually windows that they can look out across that inlet to the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
And then that it goes across that inlet underground and comes up in Morocco and Tunisia.
Okay.
Underneath the old city where you see Errol Flynn and all of that in the old Errol Flynn movies where he's doing all the sword fighting. It comes up underneath that old city in Tunis, Tunisia.
Wow. Wow. So what have you decoded this week then, Gene?
Well, I'm continuing a long decode I did that's updating my dumb decode that I did a couple years ago and then updated a year ago on the underground facilities all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm primarily focused right now on US because I have, of the 356 I'm aware of, I now have 349 vetted out. So we've done, I think, 2 shows. We're doing another one tonight. It's going to take probably 5 or 6 shows because I have 349 in that list, along with a bunch of pictures and stuff. including, I'll have one for Unleashed, which includes pictures of the Grenada Treaty in 1957, I think it was, with Eisenhower at Holloman Air Force Base going into Hangar 18 at Holloman, as well as pictures from underneath Dulles, as well as underneath, I'm forgetting the name of the base in Arizona. It's one of the two brothers that were part of the FBI for a while. But there's
okay.
Say again?
No, okay. No, I was just listening to you.
Yeah, so it goes under there. They had a hybrid facility, and I got pictures of those tanks with the hybrids that I'll be doing there as well. And then tons of non-terrestrial vehicle rescues to the different bases, as well as going into Edgewood Arsenal and the bases and facilities under there, and Montauk, and which is an outgrowth of the Philadelphia experiment. And that was one of those puzzle pieces we were talking about earlier, Charles, that fell in my lap when I first red pilled back in 90. I got to talk to two people, one who didn't have his right hand anymore, that had been on the Underwood.
Yeah.
And who actually were participants within that experiment of moving that ship, the Underwood, from Philadelphia Harbor in 1943 to Boston Harbor in 1987, and then back again. And the guy lost his right hand because he had it blasted up against a bulkhead. And when the ship became pure energy, and then it came back, his hand pushed through the bulkhead, because if you're in an energetic state, organic can push through non-organic. But luckily fortunately, the decks on that ship were all teak, so they didn't soak into the deck. But he told me that many of the men died that were in their bunks because they were wound up halfway through the bunk or halfway through the bulkheads. In some cases, people leaning up against bulkheads, and they died from that. And he had lost his right hand that way. So that I have pictures as well from Montauk and the experiments going on there as well.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, we're living in amazing times, aren't we?
Yeah, I never thought I would see this. When I first red pilled and started realizing and investigating this cabal, I didn't think it would be possible. I mean, I spent 20 plus years knowing it, watching it get worse and their power grow. Even when I first researched it, and they had people, through, like JFK said, through infiltration, they had infiltrated everything, even local police stations, post offices, all the CPS systems, everything. I'm like, there's no way. And I was trying to wake people up, and there's a new world order, and there's this worldwide cabal, and people are rolling their eyes at me and looking, hey mate, you're daft. You've lost it. You're totally gone. There's no such thing. They're just laughing at me. I'm totally insane and all of this stuff. And now, the guy that attacked me on the bases was saying, we've always known about the New World Order, but, no, there's no underground, worldwide system like that. It's ridiculous. I go, no, 30 years ago, when I was trying to wake people up about the New World Order, they weren't saying, we've known about this all along. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case.
Yeah.
We haven't. And so, it's grown, but now to see all the pieces coming out and watch it coming down, I did not think that was possible. And in 2014 in Colorado, I was watching, and I was getting frantic by that time, because I was watching the choke points being put up on the main freeways coming in and out of Colorado on the borders, like at Brecon Pass. They had tanks up there with foreign troops dressed in military uniforms, like all Turkish and Vietnamese at that time, as well as on the border of I-70, where I-70 crosses out of the U.S. on both sides, out of Colorado, on both sides, and I-25 up where it goes into Cheyenne. So I was like, and then just north of me in Longmont, Colorado, they had a FEMA camp that used to be a Walmart. I watched it be turned in, and then they put in the incinerators underground there. Mm-hmm. And DIA was built. I watched that with the fences pointing in. and watch ships, big, huge Aurora class and Dragon class ships launch off of the frontier. I would sit out on Tower Boulevard at night and squinch down on my car and throw a tarp over me, and police came up and shine a light. They wouldn't see me. But then when I would watch like 2 or 3 a.m., the runways come down and the big ships come up on it like an aircraft carrier and zap off into space. I was like, we're so done.
Yeah.
Our goose is cooked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is it. There's no way out. And to see it all coming to an end now, it's just amazing. And people think, you know, Trump's on their side. You're daft. If that were true, a number of arrests worldwide of these people trafficking the children, you wouldn't be seeing that. And a lot of people don't know about the chemtrailing, Operation Indigo Skyfold, and watching that now coming to an end. And then even less did people realize about the fluoride, calcium fluoride they pump in our water to keep our pineal decalcified and destroy our health. And I've only drank distilled water for the last few years. And my distiller, previous to the last few months, I have to clean that every month because of all the fluoride that builds up. Now that's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah. We're certainly coming into an amazing time. And we're coming out of darkness into light, out of evil into good. And it's such an amazing time to be alive, to witness what's happening. And we're an amazing time. We're starting to see things. It's very interesting with your work and other people's work around. We're starting to learn stuff that the mainstream media, the governments are hiding away from us. We're having to do our own research, and people like you are invaluable to us to find out what's really true. Because if you look on CNN or the BBC, you won't find this information.
Yeah, same with the mainstream media in this country. People say, well, if there's children being rescued from under us in the thousands, why don't we see them? They're like Operation Broken Heart. They arrested over 600 pedophiles across the U.S. in a day, and over 2,100 children rescued. You didn't see that mainstream media, and that was on the surface.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, in Colorado, there were 73 priests that were arrested, in Catholic priests, in one day for a 70-year trafficking and children type, thing that they were doing. That didn't hit the mainstream news in Colorado. I'm here, I know. And so if you don't see the stuff on the surface hitting, do you really think you're going to see a massive thing like this hitting that's going on completely under our feet? I mean, obviously not.
The mainstream media are also complicit, so that's the last thing they want to become public. And it's quite interesting, the government agencies are complicit as well. There's so many of them that are involved in this. So they're absolutely desperate to keep this quiet.
Yeah, and the main people don't realize that the mainstream media is nothing, and this is exactly what Hitler did, and people don't notice that the cabal just puts a disc in, replay that CD. It's the same technique they use over and over, where they got the brown shirts to get control of the media, put them in control of everything. So that is literally just their propaganda arm. And the same thing with our media. They did the same thing with the police, where they created riots and things and defunded the police. And like Obama was saying, we need a national force that is the equal funding to the police. So then they get their forces in control, and burn and loot and overstroy and create riots, and then create a internal situation that they can take chaos. Out of chaos comes control and order. Their control, their order. In other words, problem, reaction, solution, or the Hegelian dialectic, where you put forth the problem and you've already designed the problem. You already have the solution, like we saw with the trade towers coming down. Immediately after that, we have the Patriot Act, which pretty much in the US got rid of the Constitution. Now they can go into your house because they say they think you're a terrorist. go in your house and arrest you. You don't have right to representation or call or anything. They have taken, you can go through airport security. They can give you a complete strip search. They can cavity search, anything. You don't have any rights. They took them completely away. And so, it's once we get, people don't realize that the NESARA, part of what it's doing is returning us to, in all the countries of the world, into a constitutional republic. For those that are not, they'll be having those countries, the 217 countries that have gone, that agreed to go into GESARA worldwide, and NESARA here means you'll go onto a constitutional system in which you have certain unalienable rights, as the Constitution for these United States, for America, was originally written. You have rights given to you by God that are unalienable and cannot be removed from you. And so all of this British law of the people of the writ. Brit means people of the writ. Ish means the people of. The written, a Brit is a blood agreement. This contract is signed in blood, like a writ of habeas corpus is a right, a written demand to produce. So the body, in this case, the Brit is the people of that written demand or that written agreement. And who is that written agreement with is what people don't understand. And so it's going to put all the 217 countries that are under GESARA back into a system where we have unalienable rights, and we have a representative government system where people do a maximum of 2 4-year terms. You don't have people like congressmen in for life. All that's going to be removed. It's not just putting us back on a currency that's based on the quantum financial system and gold, silver, and platinum. It's also putting us on a voting system, the quantum voting system, the QVS, where they can't hack our votes. It doesn't matter how that vote is done. Even if it's a mail-in ballot, it can't be hacked because a quantum event is unique. And the quantum computer that records that is being monitored by a very high beings at 5th density, and they can't hack that. That AI computer won't get out of control because it's being monitored by a group of 12 individuals at 5th density. So they can't hack that. And that controls the entire quantum system worldwide, both the QFS and the QBS. And so those countries that agree to go into that, all of this will be going away for them as well as for those in the US.
Yeah, amazing. The quantum voting system that's going to be used for the next election in America, I understand is also going to be used in South Africa, which will be amazing for a country like South Africa, for people to realize that their vote really does count, because obviously in Africa, as with the rest of the world, votes have always, money's changed hands to make sure certain people get into power. Those days are over, so that people's vote will actually count. So we might actually get some people in power that we actually want. Indeed,
other than the last election, I didn't vote previously because I know that when you vote, all they need is the vote. The computer systems they had that had hacked all the voting can take your vote and move it anywhere they want. We had quite a few presidents that didn't win, even come close to winning the popular vote, and then then through the electoral college too. So everything was totally fake. I'm not going to vote when all my vote is put to anybody they want. Better off not voting at all. So I'm making a statement, and I've told people the best way to tell them what you think is have nobody vote at all. That would tell them we don't like either of the people you're running. You're running all the horses in the race. You can't lose. We want our own horse in the race, not yours.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's an amazing. Well. But I'm just glad to be alive right now. I'm watching what's happening. It's an amazing time we're living.
Yeah, it's, like we were saying earlier, it's so amazing to watch this all take and, come about and come into play. What originally started out as a 3-inch binder in 1903 with the Trump brothers, Tesla, Howard Hughes, and Van de Graaff, is now a massive set of binders that goes into every counterplay that the cabal could possibly do. They have literally taken in, even including the CME, everything. They've taken in every possible thing. There's no play. It's Zugzwang. we call in chess Zugzwang, where no matter what move the enemy does, he's done. He's going to be checkmated. It's only a matter of time. You can make it play out. And people don't realize majority of what it's already done. The majority of the war is done. What we're now seeing, all the upper handlers have been removed. Yeah. And the lower people never met or know who their handlers are anyway. Sure. So they're actually getting all their talking points, 4 a.m. talking points for the media and all that from the alliance. And so we're seeing them being played. It's you, if you watch from how the media talked about from 2016 and back through Obama years, Clinton, etc., you've never seen things so blatant and so stupid on the cabal's part, where they literally put things that are absolutely ludicrous out there, like the last thing on the mass, where they said that the mass won't stop the smoke. Well, if it doesn't stop smoke, the particulate of smoke is way bigger than the virus. I mean, come on. If it doesn't stop that, of course, it's not going to stop this either. I mean, it's really obvious, and we're watching. People don't realize we're watching a movie, and they're going to let this movie and the cabal play out right up to the end, because you got to get people to realize the lies for themselves. You can't spoon feed people and say, here it is. Here's what's happened. They won't believe you. I've been doing that for 30 years. You got to let them see how close the cabal came, and to what they came close to is literally wiping out 11 out of every 12 people on earth, and it's slaving everybody else, and that everything they know would have been gone. This living your life complacent and going along to get along. That's got to end. So the same thing with NESARA. When NESARA is put in, it's not go along to get along and get a check every month and lax and everything's going to be hunky-dory and I'm going to be rolling in wealth and don't have to pay taxes and utilities. Yeah, realize if you get all part of NESARA is getting all of these free energy technologies and anti-gravity technology, you do that, you've just made the entire infrastructure of the world go away. Reliance on oil is gone. The reliance on power grids is gone. You can have a local device on your house that develops more power than a city would need. Sure. That's not even the size of a 9-volt battery. Sure. So, I mean, now you're in a system where you have to not only retrain everybody for all these new technologies, but all the old stuff's got to be taken out and removed. You now don't need power stations. You don't need nuclear power plants. You don't need substations. You don't need wires. And that's why Tesla said, you're going to wire the earth? Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, totally. I totally agree. We're coming into an amazing time.
Yeah. So it's, but a lot of, and it's going to be amazing and glorious, but there's going to be so much work to do. I don't see how anybody would be unemployed once this comes in.
No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. There is so much to be done.
Yeah. I mean, not only have to remove all the power grid, all of the freeways and highways won't be needed when you have hover cars that are anti-gravity. All they need is grass below them.
Yeah, yeah.
That changes the whole nature of cities and the weather patterns, because the cities are massive heat sinks with all that concrete and asphalt.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll change the Earth's weather patterns. It's going to change the Schumann frequency and make it more clean. It's going to change everything.
Yeah.
And another way you can tell that the child trafficking is coming way down. I don't know if you heard about this. You're in Spain, right, Charles?
Yeah.
Did you hear about the horse that was in the same stable they keep the sires for the Arabian Challenge? There was a horse there in Madrid and another one in Saints in France, where they found a horse that had been satanically terrified and sacrificed so they could get adrenochrome, because they have to have that supply. So now they have special forces and all kinds of motion sensors. They did that immediately and caught the second night. They had it in immediately. They came in the morning and found the horse out on the altar in the pasture. So they put in all this system and they shot 2 of the guys. They got away, the one in France, but they got the mare and the foal saved. They had to go to a vet because they had the ritual slashing, and they were terrifying and going to sacrifice the mare first so the foal would be more adrenochrome. But they were able to save them, and they found one in Madrid as well. I don't know if you heard about that.
I heard something about it, but I didn't hear the full story about it.
Yeah, they're so desperate, and people don't realize, you know, how desperate. Because if you're to the point you're doing animals,
Yeah,
I mean, that adrenochrome isn't going to be working quite as well or in the same way, even if you're talking these very high, clean, uh, horses that are been raised very carefully for their entire life. They're treated very well. They're extremely intelligent, like that Arabian challenge. That's the hardest race on
yeah,
earth.
yeah,
Yeah, those horses are literally priceless. The ones
yeah,
that are sires are known for 12 generations. People watch the movie Hidalgo, that'll explain how much those lineages are prized. And they, now that that happened with that one in Madrid, where they had some of the sires for the Arabian challenge there,
mm,
they did get one, but they're not going to get any more, because they've had mercenaries that are retired special forces, like the group you have in England, and like
yeah,
the US, the Army Rangers and SEALs protect that, plus motion sensors and things that can check even footfalls and hears footfalls and heartbeats and everything, and they monitor everything now, like the kind of systems they have on Dulce for the cabal. So they have everything monitored. They're not getting in again, but I mean, that's incredibly desperate.
yeah, yeah. I did. They did say to me some time ago that it's actually more addictive than heroin, adrenochrome.
Yeah, it's, if you go cold turkey on heroin, some people can survive it.
Yeah,
But on adrenochrome, what I was told is it's about 1,000 times more powerful.
yeah,
But it's absolutely addictive, where if you've been doing it as a regular basis for 2 years, you can't go cold turkey, you'll die.
yeah. And what is the significance of getting a black eye when you come off it?
The black eye is due, that's actually due to part of the rituals
Okay,
that they do to be able to get the adrenochrome.
okay,
It's different levels of the initiations, above the 33rd degree and above.
okay.
Certain initiations, you have to get that. Other initiations, you at higher levels, you have to give your firstborn. That's part of the Brit, or the blood contract, that is done in these families.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
Well, Gene, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you yet again, and I thank you so much for your decoding and your information, because it's invaluable right now.
Yeah, it's amazed to me, when I did that first decode on the underground facilities 2 years ago, like nobody ever heard of it or mentioned. I mean, you had a few people like Phil Snyder who'd come out, but the average person on the street, and even in the Anons, the True Reporting did it. Thomas did it on his show about 2 months earlier, a little snippet. But now within the Anons and the YouTube, it's pretty much part of the mindset, is everybody knows about it. So it's so massive that, I'm so glad to have been able to let people focus their minds and focus on, we don't want that anymore.
Yeah,
Because that focus of our minds and our hearts to have this come to an end,
yeah,
what the cabal's been using to be able to create their reality, because they can't create without soul. You can't create. Those that have soul still create. And so focusing your heart and your mind on that not continuing, and this war, and the people doing this war all over, like in Sydney now, they've moved out from Melbourne into Sydney and cleaning that mess up there. It's just, it changes the tide of the war completely, and it makes so that the alliance has much more abilities of prevailing, and much less loss of life on the side of the alliance, and many more children are saved because of the focus and the prayers of people all over the world. It's so powerful. It's what the cabal has been using against us, like with the trade towers and what they say in all these movies with all the satanic symbolism that's been focusing our thoughts and our fears and hate and anger and frustration and pain and suffering. That's all they promote, because that's the kind of energy they need to create their new world order. That's all coming down, because now everybody's waking up. And, that's why your show and like, me out there telling people is so important to wake up everybody to what is been going on for thousands of years. And now they can't use us because we're waking up. The Great Awakening is here. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you very, very much for joining me this evening, Gene. It's been an absolute eye-opener and so much information there. I really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking me back, Charlie.
We'll do it again because the information is absolutely valuable at the moment.
Yeah, and come March next year, it's going to be what I'm getting at, that all this is going to start mid-March next year.
Okay.
So when that comes, then the amount of information coming out in a day is going to be so massive, we won't be able to cover it all. It's going to be great.
Exactly. That's very much in line with what I was told. That everything is happening now, but the information won't come out until March of next year. That's exactly what I was told.
Yeah, I've been told beware the Ides of March.
Yeah.
That we're going to see the fall of Caesar. In other words, the cabal.
Yeah. Okay, Dean. Sorry.
Yeah. Coming out mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. If there is such a thing as mainstream when we get to March.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Charles.
Cheers, Gene. Thank you very much.
Hi, it's Justin, and I hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.